So positives and negatives usually done on a Monday. Different tact we're heading in today, Purple?
We will, because I always take the view in this media caper and the way the week unfolds. By Tuesday, you just got to move on from the weekend gone. You can use what happened as a way to look at the future, but don't reflect. So move on. But we'll start with some news, I reckon, Days, in the first little part of our chat today.
Mate, you go
it's your
berserk.
show, but I thought we might do it that way. Umpiring. Now, I can lock it in. At some stage of every single season that I've been covering this game for, it happens. It's a problem. It was degrees of catastrophe, basically. Whether it's a crisis or not, it's certainly in a very bad position.
Is there a problem at the moment? I haven't seen any issues
Well, let's listen to the head of the game. We'll get his take before I get yours.
I think it's as good as it's ever been, the umpiring. Yeah, we're in the second year of a 4-umpire system as well, so we're on a journey with the 4-umpire system.
That's Andrew Dillon, AFL Chief Executive Officer. Look, I'm all for spin. We spin on this show at times ourselves. I think that's a stretch of a spin.
Did he just say it's as good as it's ever been?
Yeah, he did say that. Yeah.
That's almost Trump-esque.
Well, if that's as good as it's been, I'd like to know what the worst of it's been. But it's in a problematic area. And look, added to it too, and it's part of the conversation. It's part of why people are getting worked up. The transparency with which Laura Kane was going to operate the football department. Now, this week it hasn't happened on the back of what happened with decisions, particularly in the Essendon and Geelong game. And I was dubious about the transparency component to it because giving the what's your decision on every single call, I don't know where that takes anyone because you're going to have to admit error regularly, I feel.
Well,
and look, everyone makes mistakes. We'll make a mistake in the next 5 minutes on this show. But
speak for yourself, Damo.
well, the bloke who normally sits in that chair would have.
Yeah. The problem for me, Damo, is that so many of the rules are open to the individual umpire's interpretation. So if you sit down on a Monday and play it back, technically, pretty much every time you can defend a decision.
I think that's part of the problem, Limo. The grey in the game, which has always been a part of it, I feel they've got to tighten up on a few things. It's just so we know what is right and what isn't wrong.
I think the fans are now irate, though, because they feel like they're being treated as mugs. When you can go to the game and you see the Draper incident, and every person that's watched the game in the last 5 years would know that is a clear free kick. No worries about the intent of Zach Tui. It was a clear free kick, and then you sort of walk away.
I think that's a mistake one day. I'd be staggered if they tried to defend that one. But I was confused too because I saw the Menzies one. And again, we're getting a little bit too into the minutiae, aren't we? But the Menzies running across the line with the two Geelong players, I was comfortable with it, weirdly enough. Now, I know there wasn't once Essendon supporter who was, but the AFL has since told Brad Scott, coach of Essendon, that was wrong.
The 4-umpiring thing is also an issue. It hasn't made the game better. That's what it was meant to do. All it has done is giving different perspectives from blokes who are seeing different things of the one contest. So I might see it as too high. You see he's dragged the ball in. You'd be paying holding the ball. I'll be paying too high. And we're left with somewhere in the middle, whoever blows the whistle first.
It's the lack of consistency. I take that that it's hard to umpire, right? And everyone agrees with that. It's a very hard game to umpire. So we have sympathy for the umpires. But I just want consistency in games.
Yeah. I think that's the starting point. But anyway, there's a nice little spin from the head of the AFL today on
continue.
it. And if I'm him, I'm probably doing the same thing.
Now, as good as it's ever been. Let me
write that down. Yeah.
Okay.
Josh Kelly, in the last 5 minutes, basically, the past 5 minutes, the GWS Giants have released the fact that he's now broken down again with another calf, his second serious calf for the year. And he's only been back 3 matches from a previous calf problem, and it is now a problem, full stop, for the Giants, whose season is slipping away. They've put a diagnosis of 4 to 5 weeks on it already.
That's bad.
I would argue that every time you see a number attached to the injury releasing by a footy club, you can always add maybe 1, maybe 2 to it. So it's a serious one, given he's already had these problems.
And they're in free fall at the minute. 2 wins since round 8. They come up against Carlton this weekend at NG Stadium, their home ground. But they need to sort something out. And as we saw on the weekend with Sydney, a couple of your best players aren't at their absolute best, which Kelly is. It makes it mighty hard. So for the Giants, they have a nice month coming up, which is a positive. The Tigs, the Suns, the Ds and the Hawks after this Blues game.
Yep.
But there's still no certainties the way they're playing.
Not the way they're playing. Hey, Lima, you'll be happy with this, that James Sicily's shoulder is going to be one that they persevere with, or at least we believe they will at this stage. It popped out again. He's had problems in that space already. Came off the ground, went back on, came off again. It's probably going to require something at some stage, but to do so now would probably mean he misses if not the whole season, a chunk of it. So
I was worried when he went down to the rooms on the weekend, but it was nice to see him on the bench. I think, were they actually contemplating him going out again on Sunday if it ended up being a tight game?
Well, he did come back out after the initial problem, I believe, and then came back off again. I believe he did. Yeah, we did. Yeah, he came back on. Yeah, and then I think after that they came off. I mean, maybe don't hold me to that, but that was my take on what I
thought he was. I thought he just stayed on the bench after he'd been down.
To the rooms. Okay, maybe the initial treatment had impact on after that. But either way, they're going to have, it'll be hard in mouth every time he goes near it. There is anyway.
If it's just coming out and back in, though, sometimes that isn't as bad. Like, obviously, long term, he's going to have to go get an operation where it tightens everything up. The full reconstruction, as they call it, and as you have to get. But at the moment, if they're just slipping in and out, it's not the worst thing. You can play with it. It's obviously a pain in the backside when it does happen.
Do teams target that, Daisy? Will that happen in the opposition rooms?
I don't think you can pawn his arm.
But you can try and
I don't
smash
think
into it.
It's more of like a reaching and contact thing rather than something you can bump at, and it probably doesn't hurt him that much if the ligaments are that loose.
Yeah, right, okay.
Lions have been busy re-signing players this year. A couple of weeks ago, Hugh McCluggage all the way through until 2031.
The Scottish suitcase, Damo, we like to call him.
Do you?
Hugh McCluggage.
I like it. What do you call Jared Berry? Because he today's signed a 5-year deal. All the way until... That's Red Biglands' joke, so don't steal that. All the way through until 2029. And then only, again, 10 minutes ago, the club has also released the fact that Charlie Cameron, who was already locked away for some time, will now absolutely be at the Lions until the end of 2028. So three key players signed away. And I heard you talk before about Jordan Boyd going up to the tribunal. I'm glad he's taking that on for what it's worth. I thought Ryan Mansell, again, in the heat of battle, put his head into that zone where Boyd had no choice but to make contact with. And I feel Mansell, for what it's worth, contributed to that as much as Boyd. And I'd expect Boyd to be answering or at least alleging that tonight as per his legal team in the tribunal hearing.
For good reason he came in shoulders back, chest out, because that is a comprehensive start. Still more to come, I believe. The journal hasn't even been fluffed open yet. We're ready to go.
Page.
Round 17 we're up to, and the Blues, Damo, seem to be really stamping their authority on the competition.
Flying. I've had a view, and tell me if you think I'm on the right page with this, guys, that Paddy Cripps, despite being a Brownlow medal winner in 2022, is a better footballer in 2024.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah, I mean, look, it doesn't mean he wins a second Brownlow, but he is certainly playing in a way that I feel has got more authority on results, and I think a big part of that is Sammy Walsh coming along with him for the ride.
His leadership, no doubt, on field, but also his ferocity at the contest, which has never been questioned, but the way he's involving others now. I think there was a period of time where I sensed that he would have wanted to do it all himself, whereas now he's happy to bring others along, which is probably testament to the fact they've improved as well and he doesn't have to. That photo that Michael Wilson got on the weekend of him arms out, sort of the city in the back, it is an absolute ripper and probably sums up how well he's going.
They're a great team at the moment, aren't they? And I'm excited. I'm actually, for the first time in my life, I'm excited about watching Carlton this September. I've wanted Carlton to lose forever, but I'm genuinely into them now, Damo.
How long is that going to last?
Well, until they win, then I'll be off them again.
That's right. That's how it works.
But I'm enjoying it, and I love Sam Walsh as a finals footballer. How good was he last year? And I'm looking forward to seeing that again.
And also the crowds, the Blues fans are rocking up in numbers. So well done to them.
Yep. So we talk about Cripps there, Days, through what you just referred to, how he's not feeling the need to do everything himself again. Someone who is probably still in that zone, but it's working still okay, is Marcus Bontempelli for the Dogs. Now, at some stage, he needs to phase himself out, as Cripps is doing as we speak, but until he does, I love watching him play, and I have since 2014 when he made his debut, and he too is in a Brownlow medal conversation yet again.
Is this the year?
Well, as we know, he's twice run second when he's polled big votes. 33 votes he got in 2021 to run second to Wines, and then last year he came second to Lockie Neal with 30 or 31. On top of those two runner-up performances, he's also had 3 top 10 outcomes on top of the 2. So 5 times he's finished top 10. So, look, I don't think anyone in footy would begrudge him winning one if he was to.
It's a very likeable bloke as well. Who'd be leading at the moment, Daisy, the Brownlow?
Right now, I think Nick Dacos.
Yeah.
He's been sneaky good the first sort of half of the year, and when the side wasn't going as well as they could have been, and now they're improving, and you sort of see what he did again on the weekend. Heaney will be up there as well, but I think the Bont and Cripps are certainly challenging. Wouldn't be surprised come the end of the year if it is a couple of way tie like we were sort of expecting and hoping for last year.
Yeah. Just on Collingwood, they got back some key players last week, DeGoey and Mychek amongst those returns, but they've got some other injury issues to deal with yet again. It wouldn't be a normal week, would it, unless that did happen? And Johnny Noble's in concussion protocols, a key player for what he's done this year, and a good player down back, and that's a problem area for them. And on top of that, Bo McCreary pinged a calf during the game, and he's going to be under sort of serious doubt for a couple of weeks. So, those two names back onto that list, which has already got Mitchell on it, Cox, Elliott, and McStay, who they are still hoping to get back as at some late stage of the year.
It's a couple of important pieces to the puzzle. Might be smaller pieces than some of the big ones, but McCreary's super important for his pressure. Rabsy, big Collingwood nuffy in the room, and also how Johnny Noble's been playing because of missing out, obviously, on the grand final. His tenacity has been a standout across the season.
The pace from both those two players is very important for Collingwood as well. What about, you said Jamie Elliott? Yep. An update on him?
I don't have an update, no. The club about a fortnight ago said that he turned the corner in the recovery aspect of it. I mean, I took that at their word in saying it. They wouldn't have said it if they didn't see some improvement. But even then, they were talking 4 to 5 weeks down the track, and we're only halfway to that point now.
Friday night footy, the Pies and the Bombers.
How huge. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness, 6th and 4th on the ladder.
And the trepidation that I think Essendon people, including the players, will be having after what happened last year to them, and the lack of quality when it comes to the wins they've had this year. You can't knock wins, don't get me wrong, but when you look at who they've beaten, there's only been one team that was in the 8 at the time, and that is an issue given they fell away badly on the weekend against Geelong.
And they haven't got the easiest draw coming up.
The Bombers.
The Essendon, yeah. They made Collingwood this week, then Melbourne. Then they've got the Crows are going all right at the minute, then St Kilda.
I think the issue is when you look at them now, they're sitting in 4th, and you're still not sure if those games against the Crows, they should be winning, but they're not winning. So again, Friday night, a chance to make a real statement after they sort of stumbled a little bit last week against the Cats when they could have done the same.
Limo, 7 of 8 for your boys now, the Hawks. Extraordinary. 8 of 10 after a 0-5 start.
Limo.
And there's no reason to think they can't still keep going all the way through to a finals.
I hate to use the word if, but I'm about to.
Yeah.
If we'd won that game against Port, we'd be in the 8.
Well, there's another one too you can add to. Wasn't there a missed goal? Was it McDonald?
Well, Connor McDonald missed
the
goal
against Collingwood, which would have been another
We'd
win.
be in the 4.
Yeah. And just
with those two.
If you just think about that, after a 0-5 start to the year that did happen.
But I just looking at them, Daisy, I don't know what your perspective is on this, but I feel like they've just got a bit of chemistry now and they're enjoying playing together. Tell you what, they're fun to watch.
Yeah, they are.
I'm just really enjoying watching them.
Yeah.
I love all the goal celebrations, which I would have been critical of years ago. But I'm loving them all.
Yeah.
You have to embrace it. If you're Sam Mitchell, you either embraced it or sort of got people offside. And he looks like Ginnivan, Giath, the Wizard down there. They're all just allowed to go out and be themselves and play with the freedom and flair.
Because he never once cared what people felt about him.
And which is the beauty of it.
I love that about him.
Yeah. I thought he might have been a bit more vanilla in the way that he sort of conducted himself.
Well, that's
and
what happens to coaches.
Normally. He hasn't been. It's just a testament of the season. One game separates the Cats in 5th, who are taking on the Hawks in 13th.
Yep.
Incredible.
And just one more. I loved Dangerfield's game for Geelong on the weekend. And I know there were bigger names and bigger performance in the game itself, but I felt he set it up and just reminded everyone, even at 34, and having been in the system since 2007, that there's still a very prominent place for him. And whatever happens for the rest of the year for the Cats with him.
Yeah, we loved what he goes. Everything about the Danger.
He's a very good footballer, isn't he? The Danger. You see, you want to shut him down. If you're playing against Geelong, here's my advice.
Yeah.
Shut him down.
And if he gets a good run of it late in the season, the Cats are progressing. Look out. Purple, outstanding. Thank you very much.
We love everything Damien Barrett does, including tomorrow, midweek rub as well with Daisy and Joey.
Yeah.
Is that, it's tomorrow.
Yeah,
it's Wednesday.
See you then.
I'll see you then.